We know the world is moving towards blockchain solutions that are solving real-world problems, and now is the best time to build one. Throughout Block Dojo's 12-week incubator program, we will provide you with training, mentorship, commercial business guidance, blockchain development, and access to multiple funding rounds. Everything you need to turn your idea into reality. Sign up today by clicking the link in the description, and we will be in touch with more information on how to apply for our next cohort of world-changing blockchain startups.
Good evening, good morning, welcome, good afternoon, greetings and salutations, everybody. And here we are again, Ruth and myself, Women of BSV, and we've got some wonderful special guests today. We have Craig Massey, who is the CEO and founder of the Block Dojo. But first of all, before Craig gets to speak, we're going to go over to Kelly Roberts, who is the deal flow director at Block Dojo. And she's got a little punchline, looking for the best and brightest entrepreneurs who are looking to leverage blockchain. So welcome to the show, Kelly, and thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. Yeah, it's a pleasure to join you.
So what we like to do is get a bit of your background, who you are, what you do, how did you get involved in blockchain, and how did you meet Craig Massey and end up being his deal flow director? And what is a deal flow director? Over to you.
Yeah, thank you. I'm not sure how well I can explain how I met Craig, but yeah, maybe it should come with some warnings in advance. But
go.
Yeah, but yeah, my role for Block Dojo, for those who don't know, we're a 12-week incubator. We look for tech startups leveraging blockchain, BSV in particular. But that are setting up businesses and tech solutions that have a real world application across a wide range of industries. So my title, Deal Flow Director, probably is very familiar to lots of investors out there who are looking for the latest deals, the hottest sort of investments out there, and looking to make a deal basically and invest. But I'm kind of right at the start of the process, really, again, looking for the brightest entrepreneurs, to join our 12-week program, who are at quite an early stage, usually, at ideation stage. So we're looking for entrepreneurs that have like deep experience, either sector experience across a range, or their previous entrepreneurs, successful entrepreneurs, and yeah, looking, sort of on their next venture, if you like. And it's my responsibility to find them and then convince them to join. And we think we've got a great offer.
So from my neck of the woods, then you'd be a headhunter, really.
Yeah, I think so. It's kind of a mix of marketing and business development. So working with our marketing manager, Aziz, to kind of promote Block Dojo to many people, to thousands. And then also some sort of direct outreach, reaching out to different people directly and saying, do you know of any, great entrepreneurs looking to leverage blockchain? So yeah, a bit of both, sort of speaking to wide audiences, but then also speaking to people one-on-one, and kind of managing the process, the application process, and trying to make that really fair and transparent is our next kind of objective. So yeah, and just sort of making sure we evaluate our applications as fairly as possible is our aim.
And let me ask you one question: Is this applicants to the Block Dojo, or is this investors you were talking about these entrepreneurs? Is it the applicants mainly?
Yeah, it's the applicants and entrepreneurs that I deal with. And I guess we call it a deal flow. Once I found them, once they sign up to join the dojo, they go to our program director, Alex Ball, who takes them through the 12 weeks. And then at the end of the 12 weeks, our investment director, Gareth, and also our MDJ, then are responsible for getting them invested and supporting them to find investment. And that's when really the title deal flow becomes a little bit more relevant to the investor audience.
So what's your what's your background then that made you interested in that in the first place, that took you kind of, introduced you to Craig?
Yeah.
Or is it
it's very my background, my work history is quite varied. I think the kind of relevant parts for this role is I used to run a couple of a few different pitch teams in professional services. We were like a central resource that used to support many different departments across the business, and I'd always be pitching on behalf of that company to try and win. It's usually B2B, trying to win new contracts, new government contracts. It could be a lot of tendering, a lot of public sector focus, right through to sort of really private commercial opportunities, anything from sort of £500,000 worth of business to sort of several million. So I used to run the process, and we used to have, one place I worked, a real estate firm, we'd have anywhere between 60 to 80 pitches we would be responsible for producing and delivering every month, and that would be trying to teach them about best practice. How do you best speak to the people making the decisions? How do we make our presentation really engaging? How do we really get to grips with what they're looking for and make sure we have that in our proposal and we address their needs? Through to the actual design, making it look really good and engaging as well. So it was kind of best practice and also the practical sort of execution. So I'm kind of quite well versed in dealing with, I guess, a big pipeline. But then also I've been responsible for pitching outbound, to other people. Now I'm having people pitch to me. So I think there's lots of transferable skills there. And I met Craig. I met Craig through friends actually. And sort of told him about I've got a lot of corporate experience, worked for law firms, real estate firms, etc. And I met Craig, and he was setting up a digital marketing agency. And he said, why don't you come on board? And I was looking for a new challenge. I'd got a little bit bored of the corporate world, felt like there wasn't really a new challenge there for me anymore. And I thought, that sounds really exciting and really fun. We were dealing with a lot of other tech startups at this digital marketing agency. So I came on board as an account director to try and win some new clients. So that's how I met Craig. We kind of parted ways professionally for a while, and then he said come on board more recently with his new venture, Block Dojo.
Fantastic. So it seems, Craig, Massey, that you know a lot of people in some very high flying places, and I understand from a story I heard that you were in a taxi and the taxi driver was telling you about this wonderful technology and start a business together, and that would be Richard Bose. So elaborate on that a bit for us, Craig.
I hadn't even made it to Heathrow when I was supposed to be retired, and literally I was on my way to Antigua.
To a beach. Spend the rest of your life on a beach.
Yeah. Well, I managed to spend a few months, but literally the taxi driver on the way to Heathrow, and I got my headphones on. I was like, no, I'm listening to Maria Callas, and he wouldn't have any of it, and he insisted on pitching me the whole. I never even heard of Craig Wright. I had barely heard of the blockchain, and he did a brilliant job. I mean, a captive audience trapped in the back of an Uber for 90 minutes. You know what I mean? It's
that's a hell of an elevator pitch.
So, and I did loads more research, and largely from my laptop on my hammock, and the deeper I went, the more opportunity I uncovered, and I just thought, wow, this is too good to be true. And I think one of the biggest things is it's just the most amazing technology, which will be the next advent of the internet. It's the next evolution of technology, and yet almost nobody knows anything about it. It's so crazy, which is brilliant, because I think we are a couple of years ahead of the pack, and therefore I can see this as just an amazing opportunity. So we're trying to get as many companies utilizing the BSV blockchain as possible, and then of course in 2 or 3 years time, when we've got mass adoption, critical mass, and there's only one public blockchain, then everything all the ducks
together. Yeah,
everything's in the right place at the right time. But we've got another 2 or 3 years of a hard slog prior to getting mass adoption.
You're the right person for that hard slog, because this is something you've been doing for a long while, isn't it? Startups.
Well, definitely tech startups. This is between the management team, this is our 17th. We've had 11 exits, but me personally, this is my 9th with the venture studio. and I've had 5 exits, but there's 3 companies that are still alive and doing stuff. And in fact, it's interesting because not only have we started the venture studio, but then we're looking to open up Miami early next year. And the big,
we've heard.
Well, the big plan is that once we've got the model, which we think we have now, in terms of the program, definitely, we're looking then to replicate that out across lots of different cities. And we're actively looking at everything from Miami, but then probably could be Kuala Lumpur, might be Vietnam instead. Lagos, I think, would be a definite. So we're looking at kind of expanding. And the plan is we open up 14 new dojos around the world between now and 2030. Yeah.
Wow.
That's cool.
Very
That's
ambitious.
huge. Yeah, it is. You were saying to me earlier that you are going away to several places in Eastern Europe at the moment. So do you want to elaborate on that and tell us what your plans are for this little tour that you're going to be doing soon?
We'll do a tag team between me and Kelly, because essentially one of our advisors is the managing director of Techstars UK, Max Kelly. He used to be there for 5 years, and basically he tipped us off and he said, we used to get at least 50% of the guys who made it through the gate. You know, we'd have a lot of applications in, but 50% would actually be from the Baltic countries. Why? Because they are super smart, they're very tech savvy, and they're also very interested in the blockchain. So that was a bit of a tip off. And then, of course, you know, we had Sound Doshi with Michael from Poland. He's very well plugged in. Mark, who's our kind of LinkedIn guy, he's based in Lithuania, so he's got lots of contacts there. So Kelly kind of like ran with the idea, and she said, well, sod it, we might as well do the job properly. Let's go out there for 2 weeks. Let's do a road show around all the major cities there. So Kelly, what have you got lined up for me? I've not really read anything. I'm just turning up.
Yeah. Well, first of all, we're going to Poland. So we've got a couple of nights in Poznan and a couple of nights in Warsaw as well. And we've got the representative from the Bitcoin Association on board to support us in reaching out to those communities as well, to let them know we're here. And also Michal from Soundoshi, who went through Cohort 1. He's based in Poland, in Poznan, so he's joining us as well on our tour. And then after that, we're on to Lithuania, to Vilnius, as Craig mentioned, and then on to Tallinn in Estonia, and then to Riga in Latvia as well. So a couple of nights or a night each. And in each location, we're looking to do a presentation to entrepreneurs, developers, kind of the startup community, to sort of talk about Block Dojo, to kind of impart some knowledge as well. So Craig will be doing, you know, top tips for entrepreneurs, or avoid the mistakes I've made in my career, and or how to access the UK market. So we're trying to make it really informative, but just a 20-minute presentation, and then a bit of a Q&A and some networking, really, just to connect with the entrepreneurs in that community. And then also we're hoping to have like dinner with some influential people in the blockchain space and BSV space out in those communities as well. So we're arranging dinners as well with you know, some influential people in those locations. And the idea is to, first of all, encourage applicants, more and more applicants, but also just longer term, build those relationships longer term, really. So, you know, we'll always have that connection. We can always encourage applicants in the future. We're all part of the same ecosystem. So it's just meeting as many people as possible, really, so we can talk about Block Dojo. We think we've got a fantastic offer. You know, we actually give money. We actually invest, you know, when they join the dojo the first week, we give them £10,000 upon joining the dojo. And we also value our program at over £100,000 worth of services. So we think, for entrepreneurs who've just got an idea, this is a fantastic offer, you know, to come to London for those 12 weeks, really grow quickly, have all the advice and mentoring and support you need. But beyond that, you know, we remain as a really strong ecosystem and a support network, and we have a strong alumni program to keep them supported on their journey, really. And yeah, as Craig said, we've heard they are, you know, real tech hotspots. So we're hoping to meet some really interesting people with great ideas out there.
Cool.
Certainly very tech-savvy people out in Eastern Europe, aren't there? You know, it's a great pool of people to be drawing from, for sure.
I think also it's probably a very good timing with the whole kind of Ukraine issue. I think that, you know, a lot of companies with a lot of young people would just go, let's just move to London, let's just start, let's just hang out in London, because we've now got a Dojo Plus program whereby after the 12 weeks, not only do we get them in front of all the investors, but then they can actually hang out in our space, use our desks. They're still kind of plugged in, because we're very different than most incubators and accelerators. We've recruited more people to give them more kind of hands-on support. We probably get our hands dirty. I mean, today I've spent all day literally creating the financial model for one of our startups, and I do that for every single one of them. And, you know, it takes more than a day. And properly, you have to kind of rip their company to pieces. You've got to tell them what isn't working, what's a bad idea, how they can kind of change, adapt things. So not many people...
Such valuable advice. Yeah.
And because we've done it before and we've started all these companies and we've sold them, we kind of know the formula. So you know, we do have a lot of credibility when we're kind of proffering advice. And here's the kicker. We actually give our team kind of money to invest in every one of the startups, so they have a vested interest, and so it works really well. And the startups like it because they know that the help and advice they're being given comes from the heart, because we want them to succeed, because we have a vested interest in them.
A virtuous circle. Yeah.
And to get the support after, you know, you do the 12 weeks and then you're still prepared to support people afterwards is such a valuable asset as well for those people as well. If anybody doesn't know, there are the first cohort and the second cohort is on the channel for Women at BSV. And this Thursday, I went down to London and filmed an event which was Block Venture Studios, which was Osman Callis is the director of. Now, this is also something to do with Block Dojo. So do you want to explain about your Block Venture Studios as well, then, just what that's
you know what it's because we ran an event called an ideation jam, and essentially we were kind of reaching out to corporates and saying, hey guys, what's your big kind of issues, problems, and then we plugged in with the MBA program for Holt University and ran, essentially it's like a commercial hackathon. You know, we get a load of smart people, but they come up with commercial solutions rather than kind of techies writing a bit of code. So that's how it all started. And then one of the insurance companies said, you know what, this is such a good idea. Can you actually come in to our operation? We don't want to kind of disclose all our kind of dirty laundry in public, but can you come in, speak to all the different departments and come up with some sort of blockchain solution for us specifically? And that's what kind of kicked it off. So we went, absolutely. So obviously we know that major corporates are appalling at being entrepreneurs. You know, they're just bureaucratic nightmares. But what they want us to do is parachute in and be their in-house intrapreneur is what they're kind of calling it. So we hosted this event at Home House. We had a huge, it was standing room only. It was rammed to the rafters. Craig Wright turned up. Diddy turned up, of course, and we even just from that one night we've had 27 requests to go in and do a half-day workshop, and the idea being it. So it's like it's like our dojo, but it's like from the other opposite end of the telescope. So, and the idea being is we go in there, we kind of chat to the various different departments, and I made a wager with everybody there, and I said, if we cannot go in there, improve your processes, reduce your costs, or create new revenue streams, then I will pay out of my own pocket £500 to your favorite charity. So I'm on the hook now for 27 times 500 quid. So
well, you're not going to have any trouble, though, I don't think.
Well, blockchain is so versatile. You know, it's and the more, and that was one of the big things we wanted to do, was show real world use cases. You know, and I think we did that, where people we woke people up and said, this is the huge advantages you get out of using blockchain.
And nobody knows. I mean, that's the thing. It's like secret information. So you're making entrepreneurs slicker, and you're making corporates more nimble, basically.
Yeah, but also it's the idea being is that any companies that we create inside the entity, the corporate owns 50% immediately. because it's kind of been, but the great news is, of course, that's their first client. They're more likely to invest in it. They're certainly going to be potentially using it in certain departments. So it's a way of kind of fast tracking startups and giving them a bigger safety net.
It's a brilliant idea. Has this never been done before? I mean, presumably it has, but I've never heard of it.
Yeah, there is a venture studio model. I mean, to be fair, it was a combination of us doing a bit of an outreach with this ideation jam, but also we've got a very good chairman, James Marchant, who's, you know, he's had fewer exits than me, but for a lot more money. So he's significantly more successful than I am. He understands the venture studio model, and it was his idea actually. And of course, he cherry picked Osmin. Osmin's done a great job. She's building a great team. Yeah. So yeah, we're out there. Put it this way, we don't stand still. The one thing about this company, if you employ good people,
you're growing at a heck of a pace.
Well, you just get out their way and let them crack on.
I think just to add to the venture studio point as well, having worked in corporates, they'll often set up a big innovation team or department or a lab and try and develop new technology and try and iterate quickly. And they do just get so tangled up in red tape. It just doesn't seem to go anywhere. They get so embroiled in the company politics. They just don't operate quickly enough, really. And there's too many voices shouting, no, I need this, no, I want that. So I think just removing it from that environment and makes it, ensures it sort of grows quickly. And they actually end up with the tool that's best for the business and not just for those who shout loudest or within different departments.
Essentially, you're creating a startup within an existing corporate structure. Is that the idea?
That's the plan.
Fantastic.
So I suppose the big innovations that, bear in mind we've been going a year now. So we've started 24 companies this year, but our kind of, the next leg of the journey, we're having an away day with the team, we're going to Century House, etc. But really the next leg of the journey is this Dojo Plus program, which we have on the back. It's no cost to our cohorts, but rather than just kind of kicking them out the house after 12 weeks, we're still kind of embracing them or nurturing them. And also the great thing is it's peer learning, because they're brilliant. They pass on a load of information and help to the next cohort. Yeah. And obviously they are believed a lot more than we are, because it's kind of young people and they're saying, Christ, you really kind of pay attention to this program because it's seriously helped me in terms of starting my business. So it's the Dojo Plus program. Kelly's done a great job of kind of knocking our deal flow into a much better order. I mean, before we had just a crazy amount of applications. I'd say a good 50% of them were absolute rubbish, and they just soak up a huge amount of your time. So she's automating that process a lot more. Clearly, we've got the Venture Studio, which we're up and running, and we're doing 10 weeks of these half-day workshops, and then we're looking to launch Miami early next year. So yeah, there's a lot.
There's a lot going on, head spinning amounts. Yeah, that's crazy.
But also, I think the key thing is we're looking to increase the number of companies that go through the dojo, because I think we could handle 15 companies per cohort, and we do 3 cohorts a year. So the idea being is this year we've done 24. Next year we should be doing 50.
Amazing.
So have you started cohort 3 then already?
Yeah, absolutely. This is I've been working with these guys today. Yeah, we're at week 5. We parachute in at different times to do our thing, but I parachute in week 5 and week 6.
It's a week of high challenge, isn't it? So
Craig,
doesn't pull any punches. What's the point? You've got to give you brutal, honest feedback.
We call the baby ugly, so we're not frightened of. I mean, let's be honest. Sometimes they're actually quite grateful, because they're not wasting time. They have a much better chance of getting funded. But honestly, once you run the numbers, and if sometimes you don't know until you do a really granular financial model, and you realize even with quite generous assumptions, actually the business is like a corner shop. And you don't really know that until you actually do the numbers to a granular level. So if it is looking like it's a weak business, then we will absolutely make them pivot. and that's part of the process.
I mean, that's a very generous perspective, because you could just kick him out.
Well, we have done. To be fair, we kicked one girl out, and we were very disappointed with her. She was so slack, couldn't be bothered turning up. She was very lackadaisical, and as a consequence, it sends all the wrong signals out to the rest of the cohort. So sometimes you've got to be hard. And we just had a very quick kind of vote on it. We went, no, she's got a really bad attitude. She was out in week 2.
Well, you're protecting the rest of the cohort, aren't you?
Yeah.
So it makes sense.
Yeah, because it's what I love is seeing them help each other. There's nothing that makes me, is when, for instance, I mean, the Polish crew, obviously English is not their first language, and they were putting together some pitch decks. And Matthew, who is really good at English, was there kind of correcting all the, just cross-fertilization. I love that.
Yeah, I think another good example as well was Combat IQ and Pickle. So, Combat IQ is using sort of fight analytic data, and Dunya, the founder of Pickle, which is like Uber for tradespeople.
She was amazing. She was a firefighter, and I want that lady on this show so much. I just need to.
Well, Hannah as well. I mean, Hannah comes from the opposite ends of the spectrum. She's like really top and, from Oxford and all the rest of it. But two equally brilliant female founders.
Yeah. But what was nice was to see Dunya had a connection to an MMA fighter, a really famous female MMA fighter, and introduced her to Tim of Combat IQ, and now she's an advisor. I just love that connection.
Oh, that's fantastic. Yeah. That's really because I mean that presentation that I saw that Tim did, it blew me away. I thought, this is gonna be huge. You can always tell if something's good. And with Pickle, I thought, it's just a great name. Because I'm in a bit of a pickle. I need somebody to help me.
Tim's technology. So I'm saying, can you just have a quick look on your algorithms, right? Who's up to win? So I put 500 quid on first time. I won another 350. So I walked with 850 pounds.
Oh my God.
It's like, woo! So and then this last weekend, again through his little crafty algorithm, I was up 170 pounds. It's like, wow, this is just. It's like money for old rope. Is it cheating? I'm not sure.
Explain that to me a bit more, Craig, because I don't know what you're referring to exactly there.
So it's Combat IQ. They've developed this kind of technology, which is all it takes is the kind of the TV feed from mixed martial arts, which is an enormous sport, but is very underserved. And the idea being is they can analyze the actual fighter and how competent he is and the speed of velocity in terms of how they punch, how many kind of elbows, and therefore they put it into this kind of crazy algorithm and then figure out the capability of that person with all the facts and stats.
Wow! So it gives you a way to place a bet.
Well, they give all the facts and stats to the actual kind of the MMA association, but actually, what the bookies want to know is, who, how to set the odds in terms of who's going to win.
Yeah.
So he's got two massive audiences there, wanting two different things from the same technology,
same data.
I'm making some money in between.
I'd be interested to know what he thinks about is it Eubank Jr. versus Ben? Well, MMA. If you find out, let me know.
I don't think they do MMA. I think it's traditional boxing, isn't it?
Yeah, that's boxing though.
That's on his roadmap. But of course, he's going to nail the MMA first, and then he's going to do all kind of physical contact sports. It's going crazy.
Yeah. I guess that's something to point out. Actually, they're scalable. We're looking for businesses that are scalable. So we might tackle it in the first instance in one industry or as you say, one sport, but it can be replicated across many sports.
Yeah. And talk about Hannah, because Hannah, sorry, I just changed it. Hannah has, she's in the property and estate agent business, and I thought that was a great presentation as well. It made so much sense for what she wants to do. So when she came, is she somebody, because you mentioned estate agent, so is she somebody that you knew previously? No,
actually no. But we've got a big crossover because I worked in real estate for 4 years, and then I worked for a big law firm for 3 years. And Hannah's actually a qualified lawyer from Oxford University. was focusing on the conveyancing aspect of real estate, which involves obviously lawyers and conveyancers. So she had both perspectives really of real estate and law. But no, I met her and we had common people in connection as well. We had people we both knew.
Just explain to us her idea, because I'm not so as up on it as Diddy is.
So she's trying to speed up the process by bringing all the kind of the legals forward. But I'm predicting that she will be our first proper exit. And I'm predicting it's likely to be a trade sale with a very big company, should I say, because she's already been accepted in terms of having her kind of widget button placed onto the dashboard of 6,500 estate agents. And
that's phenomenal.
That's going to happen next January when her next release is out. But also she's had a couple of 100,000 investment from Octopus Ventures. So, and she's only just left the cohort, right? And she's already up there. So I think she'll probably be our proper first exit. And I think she'll get snapped up quite quickly.
I think that's another point, isn't it? I think what's helped that process and helped her progress so quickly has been our connections. We've got over 90 mentors, so 90 plus across who are in the startup space, tech startup space, wide range of backgrounds. Yeah, so we bring them in for a week called Mentor Magic, where they get to almost speed dates and mentors. And I thought it sounded a bit, before I joined the dojo, I thought, it sounds a bit, wishy-washy. But actually seeing the real life doors that are opened, the first customers and clients that they can help our startups gain the advice on, developing another aspect to their technology, which really gives them an advantage, has just been phenomenal. And I think a couple of those doors has been Craig's former, his last exit really with Yorkies, which is a prop tech company. So Craig has got, numerous connections there, which is, again, this is the sort of value we can bring to our startups.
Absolutely amazing. I want to sort of describe it as the University of Life, because this sounds like it's on the job. You're actually doing it. You come out with something really valuable at the end of it, which is potentially a whole business. And you get mentored and, learn by making mistakes as well. To me, this is probably a better way to spend your time than going to uni, but great, but you know what I mean. There's a real education here.
We've done a bit of a slog. I think we've gone around 64 universities so far. Saying, our pitch is actually at the end of your course. Why not just roll straight into this 12-week training course? But funnily enough, our associates here we get from Imperial, from UCL, from King's, Exeter, etc. And they all say we've learned more in 12 weeks than we have during the entirety of university.
Because there's nothing like doing. Nothing compares to actually being on the hook, having to deliver, learning how to
one-on-one mentorship. I've got a question for you, though. When you were in your hammock in the beautiful island of Antigua and you had that beer can resting on your knee, what was the eureka moment that you had that made you think this is what I need to do?
I felt the spidey tingles in the back of the Uber because I was given inside track information about the start of the internet a couple of years ahead of the pack. That whole kind of Hawaii story. And and I was given the information, I was told, et cetera, and I did absolutely nothing about it. So that was the first thing. And I kind of came at the internet late, I dabbled around, but I missed the boat. So that was the first thing. But also I loved the whole narrative about how it disintermediates these big monolithic duopoly crazy Silicon Valley companies who are calling the shots, and who are kind of they're doing surveillance capitalism, they're just feathering their own nest, they're disenfranchising a third of the world because they can't be part of the digital economy. So it is a bit about the David and Goliath story. I quite like going up against the big boys and tweaking their tails and just going, hang on a minute, there is an alternative here. So that definitely gives me some added impetus to kind of can you imagine if we create this peer-to-peer with IPv6 this micro payments directly between him without having to use Visa and MasterCard. I just love that kind of that idea, being able to do that.
Bit of a Robin Hood, I think, aren't you, Craig?
Definitely.
Robin
And
Hood.
letting people at the bottom tier of society keep more of their money.
Yeah.
You know, that's the thing, isn't it? Because so much of it just goes straight up to a higher layer. Yeah, no, it's fantastic. So just give us a bit of actual advice, you know, seeing as you're here. Let's pick your brain a bit. Like, what is it that makes a really good entrepreneur, and what are the major pitfalls that most people run into? Because between both of you.
Okay, so I would absolutely say, in terms of investors, you know, I spent a lot of time kind of presenting to investors. You know what they want to see more than anything else is, have you got the staying power? You know, it's not about you being some sort of little Harvard Business School MBA genius, you know, because actually very often they don't have the staying power. Sometimes it's better to be a mongrel and actually, you know, just you're willing to kind of go through the pain, because starting a company can be a world of hideous awfulness. So, you know, you can't just kind of throw the towel in because you've come up against the first hurdle. So definitely I would say staying power. And I think the second thing, and equally important, is you have to crack on and do stuff. I mean, I still work on my things to do list, which I never ever get through. But you have to keep crunching through your list. And, you know, I don't believe in multitasking. I think it's kind of, you just do one at a time, and don't get overwhelmed, but just keep crunching through. It's the starter. It's, you know, I've lost money on founders who procrastinate, and there's always an excuse. You know, you revisit their things to do list. Oh, haven't done believe it or not, I've emailed them, but they never got back to me. What? You kidding me? The bloody phone, you know. Doorstep them, do something, right? So they're my top tips. How about you, Kelly?
Yeah, I think probably a combination of like purpose and pragmatism. I think, you know, you can come across a founder who's got, you know, real purpose in what they're doing, kind of like Dunya. You know, she was a firefighter. She was a locksmith part-time. She's kind of lived through the issues she had as a firefighter, needing a second job, and then trying to manage her locksmith business on the side. And so she's got real purpose. She wants to bring more tradespeople into the UK market. She wants to help firefighters. She's got such purpose within her. But I think combining that with a sense of pragmatism, not getting too hung up and too like obsessed with your idea that you won't take advice, you won't pivot, you know, you won't take, you know, you've got to be coachable. You've got to be open and coachable. Absolutely. And yeah, as Craig said, it's definitely resilience, and it's, you know, the problems you have thrown at you, you have to be able to be a problem solver. You have to not panic and freak out every problem that's thrown at you. You've got to just deal with it head on, I think.
So tough, tenacious, adaptable. Yeah. I mean, what are the common pitfalls that people fall into, other than just not replying to their emails and ticking things off their to-do list? What's, you know, is it like just coming up with a duff business model that's just doesn't have the right sized audience, or, you know, it's never going to get into profit? What are the biggies? I
mean, certainly the financial model, it just sorts all that out, because it's absolute clear. Now, will the financial model be wrong? Of course it will, but it's got sensible assumptions. So, you know, it's got potential once you kind of get a bit of traction. But a lot of people, I mean, mostly people make dumb decisions. You know, if they this is why I think our model works really well, because generally we raise usually about 200,000, maybe 220,000 is probably about the average amount. Any more than that, and young entrepreneurs make stupid decisions, and they fritter it doing pointless stuff. So actually give them just enough to be able to convert their MVP, you know, minimal viable product, the working prototype, into something real. Get out and get, you know, 2 or 3 clients who are using it. They may not be paying a huge amount of money, but they're providing you with feedback so you can iterate your kind of solution, you know, and you've got, you know, your pipeline of new recruits who you're looking to hire. So, you know, honestly, the first leg of the journey, once you've got our kind of support, is not that tricky. because you don't have to do huge amounts of revenues. You've just got to do, you've got to prove your tech and get it into the hands of the potential client, and then get some feedback. And then that's it. Then we position them and we sort out what's called their seed round. So this is the angel kind of pre-seed round. And then we go out and find their seed round. Now the seed round starts to get a bit more serious because it's usually a minimum of $1 million, could be 2.5 million, and that's a big chunk of dough. But that's still prior to what's called the Series A. And Series A is when you bring in the venture capital guys, or vulture capitalists as they're called, right? So, but that's, they are the big, serious, heavy duty guys. So we nurture and take our guys all the way through for about kind of 3 years. And then by then they've got proper revenues, they've survived, because most companies go bust in the first 2 years. So if you get over that hump and you've still got revenues and you've got cash in the bank, then you're in a great position to go out and get your Series A funding.
And is that called an exit at that point, or is that just investment and growth? I'm not really familiar with the terminology.
Well, I mean, funny enough, we were with Yorkies, we were out before any venture capital guys because we had what was called a trade sale. So Zoopla bought us for quite a lot, and that was with in 3 years and 10 months. Now, typically, if you're doing a Series A, you'd be getting a Series A at that point, usually about 3.5 years. And then what venture capital guys want to do is scale your business, globalize your business, and of course they want to do a unicorn. And a unicorn is a valuation of $1 billion. Yeah. Actually, if you sell for $1 billion, it's not called a unicorn; it's called a dragon. But that's what they're looking to do. They're looking to kind of seriously scale. Which that journey, Series A, Series B, Series C funding, that might take another 8 years. Yeah, I get bored. Once I've kind of done about 3 or 4 years, I kind of want to move on to the next chapter of my life. Yeah. I don't want to be doing this probably past 4 years. I want to kind of hand it over to the team or
hope the adrenaline's settling. You're obviously a high adrenaline person.
Well, I think the next thing I want to do is I want to do a big building project in Valencia. So that's not for another 3 years. I've got 3 more years of this slog of helping startups and nurturing them, and also opening up new dojos around the world.
You've got very specific ideas about what you want to do. I'm very admirable.
What
is that? An actual building you're talking about?
Yeah, but I've got 27 things on my book. Funnily enough, when I retired, I created this bucket list, but one of them wasn't start a new company. So I got my bucket list, but I hadn't even made it to Heathrow, and I started a bloody company. So.
Hence why you are serial entrepreneurs as well, then.
Oh God, I know. I wish I'd give myself a break, really, honestly. But anyway, I'm enjoying it. I'm loving it. But yes, definitely, it's not as relaxing as loafing on a hammock.
Well, I think all these people in the Block Dojo are really lucky. They're really lucky to have you guys and such wonderful people. You're so kind of laid back, and you're enjoying yourselves. And you're making it a fun experience for people and getting the job done. I mean, you couldn't really ask for more, could you, as a new entrepreneur?
We'll see on our away day. So I'm encouraging them to say what they don't like, what are we doing wrong, how we can kind of change things. But no, I agree. Everyone has serious ownership. I mean, I own 15.4% of my company. The rest is divvied out between the team. So... Yeah. I like that. I mean, everyone has a vested interest. Everyone has a share in the startups and in the dojo. And I think it really works. It really motivates people. It really, everyone is super keen. I mean, just here tonight, you can see everyone's kind of working. Well, is it late? Well, it's almost 7. They're all still here.
Yeah, no, it's fabulous. And obviously enjoying themselves.
Yeah, I think we're building something special. I think you sort of work with the startups and you see their journey and their progress. And we have a big showcase evening on the final night of the program. And it is just, if you're having a few bad days and, there's always something where you go, oh, wow, actually, this is seriously impressive. And that night when it's almost like a TED talk, you know, they're on a massive stage.
Yeah.
People who've had nerves throughout about presenting, people who've had doubts, people who've struggled, you know, everybody struggles at a different point. Seeing them present on that massive stage in front of lots of investors, this is something amazing. So you do sort of get remotivated intermittently, usually by the founders and the startups themselves.
And that's the thing, is that when you do something tough and you manage it and you pull it off, you grow and you realize, you know, you've traversed a distance. You know what I mean? It's proper personal growth.
You've actually thought about everything as well, because one of the things that scares people more than anything is public speaking, and you even have a vocal coach there, you know, to help people to be able to get over those initial stage fright nerves to be able to present, which I thought, you know, you've thought about every little possibility. So if people want to get in touch with you, how do they get in touch with you? What do they need to do, Craig, to get in touch with you and present an idea?
You can message us directly. You can get in touch with us on LinkedIn. If you're a starter, if you're an entrepreneur and you want to apply, we've got an applications page, so I can drop the application link in the chat if that's helpful.
Excellent. And we'll make sure that that's in the description box, then, with the website link, the description, you know, in the description box, with both of the cohort videos and the Block Venture video as well. So if you want to watch those, they'll be in the description box below. So
yeah,
fantastic. And also, let me thank you, Diddy, as well, because you seem to be out there tirelessly present. I mean, I've never figured out how you do it, but thank you so much for. You're always kind of so helpful and supportive, and you're always trying to kind of spread the message. So thank you.
Thank you. But the thing is, I believe in Craig. I believe in the technology. It's something that I found fascinating. Like yourself, I watched Theory of Bitcoin twice. So, and I really like the history side of it and everything like that. So my background was technical in the theatre. So it kind of, that's what did it for me, was the Theory of Bitcoin. And then the way when you presented, I just thought this is such an amazing thing that, you know, our audience should know about, even though we've only got a small audience. Something that they would probably find really interesting, and also to see other people, and that there is actually support out there for entrepreneurs, and there's something to just kind of educate people in the right way about the technology, you know, and what it can do and all the possibilities. And unless you actually physically see that, you know, presented to you, then you can be scraping around in the dirt, you know. And I just wanted to help. Really,
from my perspective, I'm like a serial entrepreneur myself. I've had 4 or 5 businesses. I lost track, but I started my first business when I was 14. So for me, it's the only way to live. You know, like I couldn't really imagine doing anything else. So anything that supports entrepreneurship and people starting small businesses and growing big, I think that's fantastic. I really want to encourage it, because it's just a better quality of life.
Yeah, well, so when do applications close for Cohort 4?
11th of November. We are sort of processing some a little sooner that look really, really promising. So so if you are thinking of applying, apply sooner rather than later, I would say.
And it starts when? Is it the 7th of January?
Yeah, 7th of January, Cohort 4 kicks off. And as Craig said, we have 3 a year. So the next one, 7th of January. You've got to get your application in 11th of November, at the absolute latest. So
fantastic. So is there anything else that either of you'd like to, you know, close up on, or is there anything else that you feel, words of wisdom that you want to impart on people?
I mean, the one thing I was incredibly surprised and delighted with is that the BSV community is actually a genuine community. You know, we're doing a lot more work now with Richard from Tal, who are very supportive, the Bitcoin Association. We're trying to drag N-Chain along, kicking and screaming, but it's not as easy. But it's actually great. And of course, Vionex, you know,
Robin Coulson, he's fantastic.
They're a big part of what we do. I mean, he's our CTO, as well as, you know, running his own company, but he's in the dojo almost every day. And the idea being is he's on the hook, because we've all got KPIs. He's on the hook to deliver the MVP for at least 80% of our startups. So him and his team actually have developers creating the MVP,
bringing things to reality.
So that's why at the end of the process, because essentially we de-risk it for investors, so if they can see it's actually kind of real world and working, and also, we are SEIS. I don't know whether you know anything about this, but it's a fantastic scheme by HMRC, and this current government, at least for the next 2 years, are they love it, and they've increased the SEIS. And in a nutshell, what that means for investors is you come in, you invest under this scheme because we go out and get approval from HMRC. That means they get 50% of their investment refunded to them. So if you invest 20 grand, you get 10 grand back, usually within a few months. If the business goes under within 3 years, the government then give you another 25% back. So you're only ever risking 25%. Yeah, but here's the kicker. Here's the kicker: is you actually at the end of the process, if you're wildly successful and sell for multi-millions, you pay 0 tax. So it's a brilliant regime, which we are the most generous on this planet to encourage tech startups. So that's one of the reasons I created this, was to tap in and utilize.
Yeah, that's amazing.
And the government love it because it's a good way of encouraging kind of tech startups. And look at us now. We've got 19 staff who were coming to the Century Club. We're all paying taxes on all those people, on PAYE, etc. So, it's when you start tech startups, you actually end up with, recruiting people and doing things. So yeah, it's an interesting. Yeah, we'll see. It's an interesting.
Yeah,
that's such a virtuous circle you've created there. That's amazing. Like everybody wins, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, from my perspective, I'd just say if there's any hesitant, applicants out there, don't wait to be perfect. And particularly, obviously, as women of BSV, particularly women, it's just like any job application. They look at the job description. Oh, I only tick 9 out of 10. Oh, I'm not quite perfect enough. I've had applicants going, oh, but I don't know enough about blockchain. And it's like you don't need to tick every box.
Robin Koza knows plenty for all of us.
Yeah, definitely. You just need to be tenacious, as the word you used. Perfect. You just need to be tenacious. You need to get shit done is our motto. And don't look to tick every box. We will help you with every element. So if there's a couple of areas you're not 10 out of 10 on, that's fine. Apply, give it a go.
And listen and take advice.
Yeah.
They've got to be coachable. Yeah, well, the girl we had to kind of exit off the premises in week 2, she was not coachable at all.
So listening is a very skillful skill, to be fair.
Yeah.
So,
well, let's wrap this up, because that's a really good place to leave it, I think. Thank you both so much for joining us. We really, really appreciate it. We wanted to have you on for months, actually, so it's good that we finally got around.
It's great. Well, thank you as well. So thanks, Ruth, and thanks, Diddy.
Yeah,
no
thank
problem.
you so much. Yeah, thank you.
Really appreciated your time. Thank you so much.
Cheers. Bye, guys.